Hey everybody, welcome to the Linux Cast. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Nate.
And I'm Drew.
Welcome to the Linux Cast. We took last week off because I tore my desk apart, and it was not getting put back together in time by the podcast. So I was going to take pictures and share them of the inside of my computers. God, guys. It was inches thick. It was horrible. I have an AIO to replace the one that's in there because it is bone dry. So just pro tip, those things need to be replaced every once in a while. Surprisingly, my temperatures in my case aren't that bad. I average around 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, so it's not horrible. All right. But anyways, that's the reason why we weren't here last week, because it was all my fault. But we're back. We're going to do a podcast. It's going to be awesome. We have we have a really cool topic tonight. We're going to talk about old technology returning. And I'm not talking about as we did the whole Linux running on old technology. We're more going to be talking about things like iPads, fountain pens, and notebooks, and basically, we're going to be three old geezers reminiscing about the good old days. It's going to be great. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. But before we jump in, we are going to talk about what we've been up to recently. So we used to do this every week, but we realized we're not that interesting. So we had to just spread this shit out a little bit. So Drew, what have you been up to recently?
It's going to be a list this long. So,
Carry
because
on,
we've
man.
had 2 weeks in between podcasts as well. Suspiciously, though, I did 0 videos in that time. Actually, I think I did one right at the beginning of that 2-week period where I did a live stream, and then found, wow, I've got these 2 projects, and I've got quite a few bugs that I demonstrated in a live stream, which was great. Because you always want bugs in any of your software. But as far as actual stuff, I did a lot on my Codeberg stuff. All these projects are kind of seemingly morphing together. And one of the things I think I'll just kind of pull out one. The most popular or the most starred project on my Codeberg page is Sway setup. And for whatever reason, Sway is the darling of anybody that comes to my Codeberg. And one of the things that I have been doing is adding Debian packages to this repo. And I had Helium browser and Zen browser and a few other things. But this week I added the Rofi Wayland version, which is not part of the Debian. I was trying to keep things that are not part of the Debian repos, Debian stable. So that was something that had not been part of the Debian repos or packages. So I thought that was a good one to kind of pull out. And so if you are interested, you can go to that my Codeberg Butter repo and either download the Rofi Wayland, which is the latest version of that project. So many other things, but I will save it for later.
Okay. Nate, what about you? What have you been up to?
Where do I even start? I did make quite a few videos. I actually made it for January. So I have more in the network that is coming. And then I kind of started working more on my office and just doing my regular job. And I am slowly moving over from Discord to something called, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's STOAT. Used to be Revolt. I could say that, but whatever. They had to change their name. But I've been slowly moving away from Discord because this latest thing was kind of just, it kind of pushed me over the edge, and I'm done with it. So
Yeah, I get that. So mine also has to do with...
You've never done any work on outside of Discord for your community, have you, Matt?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. So
there was no bridge that needed to be accomplished this week or anything.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was ridiculous. I mean, the number of little moving parts that you have to, because you have to deal with the DNS part of it, which is always a pain in the ass. And you have to make sure that the base URL has a well-known file in it somewhere. And because I use Hugo, that means that had to be put on GitLab. And so the DNS took like 2 hours to figure out how to do. And then you set up your home server. So I now have a home server account, which is just for my like admin account. And that was okay because that's just a Docker container and it sits behind Caddy. It works fine. But then you get into this bridge where you have to make sure every little setting in that config file is working correctly. And then you get, you think you have it right, and you have to create yourself a Discord app, and you have to create a bot in order to get things back and forth, and you have to do all of these things. And it took me 3 days to get to the point where it was like working. And then I get to a point where it was working, and like people are like, well, why doesn't this thing work? Why doesn't that thing work? And like, honestly, the vast majority of people have been great. They're like, this is awesome. And there's been some people who are like, why don't my emojis work? Like, well, and it's just, there's limitations, but good Lord, that was, I wanted to murder every Matrix developer at the end. And I was like, that was not a fun experience. I learned a ton, by the way. I had never set up Caddy before. I usually use Cloudflare tunnels. I never set up any of the YAML files for that kind of stuff before, and it was just one thing right after another that you kind of had to figure out together. It was an experience that I hope never happens again, because if it breaks, I have no clue what I'd do. I'd probably cry. Is what I would cry, like shed actual tears. Nate,
all I can say is in 6 months, you better start praying hard that it doesn't.
Well,
because I've done it a few times.
Well, that's the thing is, like, people have asked me for a Discord bridge before, like over and over again. When I first set up the Matrix room, people asked me to bridge, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that because they break all the time. Like, I'm not doing that.
What's the likelihood of you just abandoning Discord completely rather than,
fairly low at the moment. They'd have to do something egregious for that. There's 3,000 people in there. And the vast majority of them are not going to Matrix, because Matrix is horrible. It's okay because that's what we have, but overall it's just a very bad protocol. None of the clients, like you can try all the clients. I don't care who you are. None of them are good. Like Element is fine because it is what it is, but it's just none of them are good. So if there was a viable alternative that was open source and, something that you could self-host and actually be good at, maybe. But Matrix ain't it. So probably not. Ever, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I've never had like a Discord server before. I've always been kind of like in you're on you two guys' servers and like contributing there. But, a couple months ago, I did the whole Matrix server thing, and I didn't realize how bad a job I did until later when you were like kind of struggling. I was like, yeah, I should probably do something about this just to make it at least look halfway decent. And but the other thing was, and this kind of actually is topical for today, is I installed a discourse server. Which looks suspiciously like old technology. It looks like a bulletin board system of old. And I don't mind it. I don't mind that kind of like functionality where you're like, you're actually more, it's not a chat. It's not for chat at all, whereas Matrix is doing something. And by the way, on your Matrix server, I think you've had a lot more activity than you have in quite some time.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, the bridge caused quite a few people who felt they couldn't switch away from Discord. Felt they could switch away because felt that they weren't going to miss out on things. Like I know at least 10 people who quit Discord completely because the bridge exists now. So I think that's great, and that's the reason why I did. I know the bridge pisses some people off because it's not pretty in a lot of places. Like it has the way replies work when they're sent back to Discord is ugly, and especially when you have a whole bunch of people chatting back and forth, which is what you want. It can look very blocky, but there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way that Discord handles the APIs and stuff. That's how you can have to do reply. The only other way I looked into is like you'd have to have every single person verify their Discord account in order to have actual replies working. and that's obviously defeats the purpose. So, yeah, I do think that the Matrix thing is a good stopgap. I really hope the thing is, like, we talk about Mozilla being very incompetent in terms of running things. I'm not as in the know on the Matrix guys, but they haven't, from the things that I've read, they are very uninterested in making Matrix good. They're kind of like how good the GNOME Foundation was for a long time, where they were very, very opinionated on what they wanted it to be. And the worst part is that Matrix also seems to be very badly financially managed, so they always like are on the verge of just not existing at all. So we'll see. I hope that they take this influx of users like Mastodon did and say, hey, we're going to make this thing good, or as good as it can be, and we're going to put a lot of effort into it. And Mastodon is still improving. They just brought quotes to the platform a couple months ago. So I hope Matrix does that, but I doubt. I have my doubts. So yeah, I did the bridge thing. That was my pinnacle of the last 2 weeks. None of the other stuff even really even matters. I did write a script. Actually, I did write a script last night. So this is based on the Matrix thing. So Element does not have a GIF picker. So like you want to upload a GIF, you actually have to go to Google, find a GIF, right? So I wrote a script that will search through Clippy's database, which is like a GIF place, and you can search through Rofi. It will copy it to the clipboard, and then you can paste it into Element if you want to use GIF, use GIFs in Element, because it doesn't have a picker. Now, it does use something that I never heard of before. It's called CopyQ. It is a clipboard manager written and displayed in GTK of all things, but it will also so here's something that I learned, actually, just kind of a wild tangent just for a second. When you go into like a browser or whatever and click copy image, you're not just like my dumb ass country bumpkin moron person thought that it just copied the photo. Like, you know, like the photo is just in the register somewhere. Completely forgetting that ones and zeros are going to be back there somewhere, but there's actually like a whole bunch of categories of things when you click copy that it has to have exactly right in order to paste that thing, because it's looking for everything. And what I discovered was it's not freaking easy to copy something from a list of Rofi things, basically a URL, and have all of those categories exactly the way they need to be. And the only thing I'd be able to find to actually would do that, and when I say I meant Claude find, because I had no clue. I was lost. I thought I could just do it with XClip. Like, I just thought, you know, I'll just take the file name and paste the file name in there, and it's going to upload it, and it's going to be great. That's not how it worked. So the CopyQ thing will actually take all of the metadata, basically, of anything that you copy and ensure that everything's exactly where it is, and you can put in your script like carriage returns and everything. That way it will prompt the application that you're pasting into to actually do something other than just nothing at all. I think I worked for 4 hours last night, and eventually like it was fun.
Where did those 4 hours go? I mean, and because
Yeah.
you're like locked in, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that took that long to do?
For a GIF copy thing.
Yeah.
It's 155 lines long. That's all it is. It's not even a long script, but it's just like 12 functions. But it took forever, especially the copy shit. So, all right. Honestly, we probably could have spent the entire podcast
Literally.
just on this section. We just go around and do. We should actually 1 week where we've all done, or maybe we've been off for a couple weeks. We should just do a whole episode with just what have you done lately kind of podcast. That'd be kind of fun. Of course, that'd be the week where we all did nothing because we're all working really hard or something. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the main topic. So I titled this "Old Tech Coming Back" thing, and I asked in the thumbnail, "Is the iPod back?" And the answer to that, of course, is yes. This is not an iPod, by the way. Nate has one, but the point I want to make is, so if you are on YouTube at all ever, you'll notice that there's a lot of YouTubers out there saying that they want to minimize their tech impact or whatever they're saying, right? So they're hosting their own music again. They're rebuilding iPods, or getting MP3 players that are high fidelity and all this stuff. They're getting things like the Miu Mini, which will allow them to play retro video games and things like that. They're bringing back actual wired earbuds and headsets and stuff like that. And they I have a whole so the topic really is, do you guys think that this is just a fad on the internet, or are we finally seeing more and more people kind of embrace the more, I don't want to say analog, but less complicated tech life? Because it's not analog if it's still digital. But we'll just kind of start off there. Do you guys think that this is just a fad that's kind of just will phase out, or do you think this is something that will gather real steam? Drew?
I don't think it's a fad. I think that it's kind of out of necessity, because when we look at the way things used to be built, they're better. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. When you see these products that have come out in the last several years, and you automatically plan for obsolescence, those things will be obsolete fairly soon. And that's intentional. I mean, these companies aren't building they're not building really good products so that you can keep them for 20 years. They're building kind of like wretched things that, oh yeah, you might get 3 out of this one, and then you're going to move on to something else. But when you are even something like wireless stuff, look at me, Nate, and Matt. All of us have wired headsets. Not because wireless doesn't work. It does. These work all the time. All the time. There's never an issue with Bluetooth not crapping out or anything like that. Plug it in and it works. And so this is one of the most low-tech things that you can do. And that's just one example.
Yeah, the wired headset thing, like what's funny is because you can't. The thing is you can't plug these things into anything. like you can't plug this into your phone. I think surprisingly, this Miu Mini does have a headphone jack on the bottom, so there's things like that can. But that thing's actually retro. But if you have like a one of the newer switches, I don't know if that has a headphone jack or not, but probably not. A lot of anything new, you just can't plug these things in. You need a freaking dongle in order to actually get it to work with your devices. Even though these things are a tangled mess, because that's something that I don't miss. But you're right, dude. Bluetooth has never worked for me well on Linux, like ever. Like I can get it to work for a couple days, and then I don't use the things for a little while, and all of a sudden, it just not working anymore. I had an update or whatever, and you just plug these things in, and it just works. So yeah, that's the
same thing with keyboards. Same thing with mouse. A mouse. If you have, even though this is wireless and stuff like that, if I forget to charge it every once in a while, I'm like, oh shit, there you go. I guess I better plug that thing in. But if you don't use wireless everything, then it seems like you're gold.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're definitely prepared for, like if you have a ton of like wireless devices in your house, it can have interference and stuff. So actually, it would be better for that. Now, what about you, Nate? Do you think that's a fad, or is it something that will carry on for, a long time?
I'm kind of on the fence, because in some ways it's a fad, for the simple fact that the main buyer is like that last part of Gen X and the early part of the millennials. Because this is what people don't think about. We say that it simplifies tech, but really does it? Because you got to have more devices in order to do the same thing that one device could today. Mm-hmm. So are you really simplifying, or are you just adding more stuff that you have to maintain? But at the same time, I don't think it's a fad, because I think there's a real need for it, and people do want something simpler. Like this old iPod, I literally just played a game on it. Still works. I won, by the way. As you can see, it says winner. But yeah, stuff like this is what needs to come back. The quality that this thing had, that's what people want. And one of the things that I did appreciate about my phone is they did work on the quality of this. It is way better. But I know within like 2 years, this is going to be totally obsolete and the new thing is going to come out and I'm probably going to have to replace it. I don't want to, but that's what you're playing for. And Drew's right. And so in a way, like I said, I'm on the fence. Yes, it does simplify it, but it does complicate it because you got to maintain more devices now. So there's more things to charge, there's more things to plug in. But in the same sense, it does simplify it as when you pick up that one thing, it does one job and does it really well.
So I'm with you guys. I think that my thing about this the whole idea, part of it is the durability and quality and stuff, but I think also that there's a growing sense that a lot of people have that because of the cell phones that we all carry, these things are distraction machines, right? Because it can do so much. I can spend some time on Instagram. I can go do some YouTube shorts. I can mess around in my RSS feeds. I have my Kindle on here, or my e-reader. I just got into Mango a little bit. I got that on here. I can just hop from one thing from another. Now I am notorious for not being able to keep my attention on one thing, right? And I think that a lot of people are exactly like that, where it's become, I think people are kind of, at least some people are starting to understand that their attention spans have been negatively affected by having a computer in their pocket for all the time, right? And by going down to just music, if you're going on a run, you just take this thing with you, and that's all you can do, right? You're just focused on this one thing. Or if you're just doing something on the computer and you just want music, you just grab this and you put your phone, across the room where it can't distract you with notifications from Twitter and whatever. I think that there's a growing sense that if you have these single-use devices, it helps you maintain your attention just a little bit better on some things. Now, the multiple devices thing is absolutely a thing. So I think a lot of people are picking and choosing what's important to them. Like I've seen some people who go the whole kit and caboodle. They get themselves a dedicated camera. They got their iPod. They got their game machine over there. They got like 12 things that they got to carry. I don't think that that's going to be the way most people go, but I think a lot of people who are interested in this type of thing and actually realize it's something that they want to do, they'll get a music machine and they'll get maybe a game machine. Those are the two things that they'll have. They'll still have their phone, but they'll use the older tech or whatever to more kind of regulate their attention spans in some ways.
But you're 100% right, Matt, because okay, so let's talk about the phone for a minute, because a smartphone tries to be everything to everyone and ends up actually being mediocre at everything. If you're looking at it in terms of a dedicated e-reader, you read a lot of books, Matt. If you just a Paperwhite or something like that, if you was to use one of those devices that has better readability, that has a better battery life, I mean, those things can go months without being charged. Or a dedicated a dedicated camera has better optics than any phone that you're going to have. So just those two things. You can't be all things to all people. Now, granted, yes, this is really stinking convenient when you have, like you said, Matt, a computer in your pocket that does, I can read on it and I can take pictures and so on. But let's be honest, it's just mediocre when it comes right down to it. As far as, I'm going to show my one thing off that I pulled out of the drawer. Okay. It's a Sony Walkman. What is this? An NWZ-A818. I think these are from 2005 through 8 or something like that, somewhere in there. But this little thing, holds a lot of music and super lightweight, and you can go on your run or what have you, and you're good to go.
Oh, I think there's a specific age group that was in their, maybe late teens through early 30s that were in that early iPod era, or maybe a little bit before, maybe you couldn't afford an iPod, but we all have during that period, if you were around and you had a little bit of discretionary income, you had one of those iPod like MP3 players that you could get at Walmart or whatever for like $20. You know, and you could just plop MP3s on there from LimeWire. Or Napster or whatever, and carry on with your day. It was an amazing experience. I mean, looking back on it, I can see the flaws of it. None of the software for that stuff was ever very.
Oh, it was awful.
It was just horrendous. You installed it, you got 12 bars in your browser all of a sudden, but the experience and just because at the time I was in university and was working at Kroger on the night shift. And I remember the first time, because we had these flip phones back then, right? And they didn't do shit. So a couple of the guys that I worked with, that actually had boom boxes in the aisles, right? So they could listen to music. And then all of a sudden, all those things kind of went away, and we all had headphones. And because we had these little MP3 players, it was a revolution. And I think that a lot of people are kind of the smartphones that came kind of like almost immediately after that changed that again. But still, I think a lot of people now are experiencing kind of that same awe of how kind of cool it is to have just this device that plays music. That's what it does. If you guys actually go on Reddit, there's like whole subreddits dedicated to these dedicated audio players. And there's actually like a big market of brand new ones that you can go buy for like $120 or whatever. And they all like have expandable storage. I'm sure they're all like everything. They're all very variable in terms of goodness, but I think it's really cool that kind of stuff is coming back. But just on the subject of phones, let me ask you guys this question. So there's this trend going on of people reverting themselves away from the smartphone and going back down to dumb phones. Then there's actually like companies out there that are creating smart dumb phones that are kind of have like touch screens but only do so much, right? Like the light phone and a couple other things, right? So do you guys think that is something that will catch on, or is the smartphone that we have now too ingrained? Nate, you're shaking your head. Go ahead.
No, it won't catch on because we're so far into people just being used to be able to pull something out of their pocket and look something up real quick or watch YouTube or whatever. Like it's too much of the culture. In order to make a change of that, you have to change the culture. And right now the culture is, hey, I've got this infinite thing in my pocket that I can pull out and do whatever. So no, I mean, credit to the guys that do it, but at the same time, no, I don't think it'll be a comeback to that.
Just gonna be a niche.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Drew, what about you?
Yeah, I think Nate's right in the sense that my generation and older, I think that's your target, because you're talking about a dumb phone. I don't want this thing. Is it for my mother or your mother? And yeah, it's for those people. Is my 22-year-old going to get a dumb phone? No, he's not. And there's no way he would ever consider anything other than his iPhone. So when it comes right down to the target for those type of products, we are going to die off, and those things are not going to be anywhere anytime soon. I would be curious, though, if you are in the chat and you are, let's say, over, 45, let's say, or 40, and you would be interested in a dumb phone. I would like to know if that's even possible. Anyone below 40, I'm going to say no. I don't think there's any way that anybody has any kind of like interest in something that, one of the things that I think is amazing is the GPS part of of these phones. When you get into, and you get into your car or your truck and you know specifically where there's going to be some type of like road closure or something like that, and it automatically reroutes you. That is something that is great these days that was never available. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure you guys probably had the Garmin GPSs in your vehicles. Maybe even have it like hooked up to a laptop, just one of those like Microsoft like streets and maps, and it come with a GPS that you would like plug, put on your windshield, and then have it go to a computer that might been sitting like shotgun with you.
And you had to download a map pack in
Yeah.
order to do it from like MapQuest. All right, kids. MapQuest was back in the day, all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember firing up my Windows XP computer just in order to update it.
Yeah. The funny thing is the most hilarious thing is that you can go into like a sporting goods shop now and still buy a dedicated GPS device, right? Granted, they've come a long ways. They have their own cellular connectivity and all this stuff, and they also are tremendously expensive. But they're more for like hikers. You're gonna go out on the on the trails or whatever, and you need to have actual satellite connectivity in order to not get eaten by a mountain lion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but once again, Starlink's coming into these things.
Yeah, I know.
So-
Yeah, I know. It's gonna eat that market too. But the thing is, you're right, Nate. That the culture around these things it's embedded, right? So if you want to order groceries, you need a smartphone. You need to go on an airplane. You need a smartphone. You need to go to the DMV. You need a smartphone. Like my dad is 83 years old, okay? And he had to go get his driver's license renewed in November. And I had to walk him through how to use a QR code. Like, he'd never seen one of these things before. He had no clue what the hell it was. But by the time, like, the thing that came from the state of Michigan, they sent him an email or a text message or whatever, and he had to scan this basically barcode in order to get to his appointment. And he had no clue what he was doing. So he called me waiting in line. Like, he didn't know clue what he was doing. You can't do... I mean, it's a shame because obviously there are people who can't afford a smartphone. So there's that whole angle of it. Because, I mean, it's not just like you have to go buy $1,000 phone. They have cheaper ones. You could buy a cheaper one. But you still have to be able to pay for the service. You have to live in a place where service is actually... The fuckers in Montana, I have no clue what you guys do. I mean, there's just nobody that lives there. So, So,
well, I was going to say there is the government phones, but we know how those go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that it's probably better now, but I mean, even as of like 10 years ago, there are places in Michigan here, there was no service, right? There was just no place. Like, actually, still to this day, you go into the grocery store in my little town, there's a place back by the Pop, there's no service whatsoever. Like, and it's not just like Verizon or T-Mobile, it's everyone. It's a complete fucking dead zone.
Yeah, same thing. Like, you go 5 miles south of me, you hit the river, which is the border between Oklahoma and Texas. There's no service. I don't care what carrier that you have. There's none.
It's just weird that we're still like it used to be. You guys remember this when cell phones first came a thing? You had to go on their website or go look at a poster or something, trying to find your little county to make sure you were in the color area, to make sure that you could actually switch to that carrier to make sure you had service.
Do you remember when they used to give out maps in the carrier places to show you where the spots were, and you could like plan out your trip? Okay, I'm gonna have cell service here and here, and yeah.
Coverage maps are actually still a thing, so you can go on there because there's still because now they're differentiating between like 5G and 4G and LTE or whatever, and then I still have people in my family who still have 3G phones. Like half of those things don't even work properly. They won't make phone calls. So yeah, I agree that the dumb phones thing is kind of, it's going to be very niche. It's going to be older people, like maybe us and older, who are kind of interested in that kind of thing. And then there's going to be the, for lack of a better word, hippies, who think, do it because it's cool or because they have a specific reason for doing so.
I'm sorry.
Like everything,
I have thoughts on that one.
Well, it's just like the problem is like even the new like smart dumb phones, the things like the light phone or whatever, they still have like, you can still like get Twitter on there. You can still get GPS and stuff like that. So I'm like, what are you actually saving? Like if you want to go dumb phone, just go to dumb phone. What are your thoughts on what I just said, Nate?
So you have the ones that do it because they claim it helps them. And I'm like, so basically you lack discipline because every smartphone has this thing called Do Not Disturb. And you'd be surprised how long my phone sits on there. And you know what happens to that phone? I set it to the side. And whenever I pick it up, then I figure out who tried to call me. until then, it's called discipline.
I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little offended, actually. I'm just gonna say that because mine's on my phone is on Do Not Disturb all the time. I don't give a fuck if you call me. Like there's 3 or 4 people who can get through that. Family members. Everybody else, you can all fuck the right off. But I still pick this thing up all the time because this is my reader. This is what I read all my books on. This is my music player. This is what I listen to all my music on. This is my note-taking machine. This is what I take most of my notes on. I feel like I'm betraying my early millennial status a little bit in acting so Gen Z and being attached to this thing, because I'm very much attached to this thing. And I actually showed this. I showed these earlier before we started recording. I have a whole fucking pile of these damn things sitting here beside my desk all the time for no reason, by the way. I've been addicted to phones since high school.
I've been forcing myself to get away from that and, to use other methods, just because I too, like when I was working, actually going to an actual office job, I had my phone on all the time and had my, my earpods in all the time. And now I'm just trying to get to where I'm like, I don't really need it as much. I've got other things that I can use, like a pencil.
So you answered whether or not it was a fad. Would you actually go to a dub phone?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because when I need it, I need it. I don't need something stupid.
Makes sense.
I mean, that's a challenge. I think that's just like a survival challenge. It's like, can you go back in time? Can the chat? I mean, there's going to be people that are just going to say, yeah, of course I could do it. Yeah, bullshit. Okay. Could you survive 1 week on, let's say, even 2007 technology? That means no GPS. That means only physical maps. That means no streaming. You actually have to own your own music. That means no cloud backups, and a phone that you can't. Maybe you can. Maybe I was going to say you can't text on, but I guess 2007 you could text. So I was about to.
So the way you combat that is every time you text, you got to pay yourself 25 cents.
Okay. All right. Well, and those phones back then also lasted 3 days on a freaking charge. So
no. The way you combat it is every time you text, you pay your wife 25 cents.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't work if you give yourself the money, but if you give her the money and you never see it again, she can do whatever she wants to it, right? God, you guys okay. I told you at the beginning this is just going to be 3 old dudes reminiscing over the old days. But you remember you used to have, in order to get long distance phone calls, you had to go to Sam's Club and get these little cards that had minutes on them. I don't think we want to go that far back. I'm just saying that the thing is, but I should replace the poll that I put up in a minute, but I'd be curious to see how many people actually make phone calls anymore. Like I know, Drew, you make phone calls, and Nate, but is that mostly for work, or do you guys spend most of your time, or is it family and friends as well? Nate, go ahead.
No, it's family and friends too.
Okay.
I mostly do phone calls because I have the old problem is that if it's something short, I'll text you. If it's something I really need to explain, I'm going to talk to you. I don't want to sit there for 45 minutes in a text. Just when I can do a 5-minute phone call.
Yeah. What about you, Georgie? Are you on the... He's like, wait a minute, hold on a second, guys. We gotta realize what just happened because it didn't really come through in the audio. But I'm pretty sure he just picked up a landline. I'm pretty like that's what that was, like a landline, right? Or
yeah, that's what that is.
Oh goodness gracious!
But I guarantee that's probably voice over internet, ain't it?
It definitely is.
Let's go say.
So
I've got actually 2 lines, 2 VoIP lines separate, as well as this thing. But
first off, old. I'm just saying. We had to go. But
I know secretly, Matt, that you missed that that dial-up like connection. It's like,
I've talked about this before. I would love the handshake. I want the handshake as my startup sound. That'd be so cool. Like I don't turn my computer off anymore. Like it just stays on all the time. But if I had the handshake as my startup boot sound, I'd start it up every morning. Like it would be so cool. I'm such a nerd.
I think there's I'd have to find it, but I think there's something that like every time you try to connect to something on your internet, it plays that noise. I would have to find it.
So you know how nostalgic I am that the notification sound I have for every mail that comes in on my phone is "you got mail."
You have mail.
Yeah. I have, like, I love it. It's great. It's been that way for literal fucking years. And I also have the AIM like ding sound every time I get a notification from Matrix and Discord. Like that. I love that shit. It's great. But you guys make phone calls and stuff like that. I am completely opposite. I made the joke earlier about betraying my early millennial roots, but I'm much more Gen Z about this thing. I don't call anybody. Now, granted, lack of friends is probably part of the reason why that is, but yeah, my family stayed like in touch through text message. That's what we do. We text. If it's not through text, I love the fact that if my nephew texts me, I don't have to answer him back right away. I can answer back 3 days from now if I want to. If I'm pissed off at him or whatever, I can just, I can just message him whenever I want to. When I have time, I don't have to pick up the phone and stop what I'm doing, pick up this 5-pound brick that I have and put it to my ear. I don't want to do that. Granted, I didn't want to do that when landlines were the thing either. I wasn't a big phone guy back then. So I think that's it's interesting. I think that there's a big generational divide, right? Because by the time kids these days were growing up, landlines were already gone. The vast majority of people didn't have landlines, right? They all grew up with a fucking iPhone in their hands. So that's the reason why it's like this. And because the iPhone does so much, this is generating into a kids these days speech, but because the iPhone has always done it's a computer, the phone part of it's just been increasingly marginalized to the point where it's just a thing that happens when you have to call the Secretary of State or you have to call the cable company. You know what I mean? Everybody else is in WhatsApp and Signal and Telegram and iMessage. That's just the way that everybody communicates these days.
But there is, I think, I know email is less and less popular these days as well, but I literally can't do my job without email. I mean, it's impossible. And I know it's like, I'll send an email to my son. He's in his 20s. And I say, did you get my email? He's like, oh yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't get the email. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have like 7 pinned tabs to my browser. 3 of them are are web email. I've got 2 for work and 1 personal. That's there all the time. Those are pinned tabs that I have to deal with all the time. And the other things are stuff like, file storage and things. And Matt's going to love this, but it's one of them is Google Voice is one of my pinned tabs. And and a calendar, because that's just the way it is. So yeah, email is seemingly the old person's like way to communicate with people. And I literally can't do my job without it. So
I think that personal email is exactly that. I guess it's for a lot of people, but I mean, I think that email still drives like corporate America. Like if you get an actual job, you're going to mess around with email no matter what.
Or even start a job.
Yeah. Drew, I love Proton a lot. There's a lot of things that are great about it, but man, I miss native email. Like I want a native email client like so bad. And I know the Proton bridge thing exists. Somebody's going to point that towards me. Like it does not work. It's probably more of a pain in the ass than the fucking Discord bridge that I just set up. Like I don't want to do it. Yeah. It's not going to work. So I'll use the web email. I think part of the reason why
I actually like that. I mean, and to your point, Matt, you can use the bridge and you can use like Thunderbird and have like a unified email type thing. And no thanks. I'll just keep my pinned web tabs open.
Yeah, I don't think I mind I've come around to the web mail on the desktop. It's fine. Like I use the Electron app for Proton. It's good enough. But the mobile application for this is just a completely fucking tangent. But the mobile app on Android and on iOS is fucking terrible. It's bad. Like if you need it, my eyes are bad. Like I can't, especially on the phone. Like I can do fine on the computer because I have everything blown up to like 5,000 magnification. But on the phone, it's just little itsy bitsy text. So I have to pinch and zoom in order to actually read some of these emails. And once you pinch and zoom in the Proton Mail app, you can't scroll back and forth without using two fingers. It's really stupid. I hate it with a passion of of 1,000 burning suns. It's horrendous. I've filed bug reports, and I don't do that very often. Like this has got to be how can a company actually use their own product and have it be that bad? Like it's just bad. So sorry, rant. Just on the subject email, guys. Let me ask you this question: do you think that is it just me, or does it feel like email is the reason why email is kind of fading away is because it hasn't really advanced any? It's literally the same protocols we've been using for 40 years. There's like encryption hasn't really caught on. So it's, if you're gonna encrypt something outside of like Proton, you have to have PGP keys, which ask a 20-year-old what a fucking PGP key is, they're gonna look like you're like a fucking moron. They've had some like benefits like read receipts and stuff like that. That kind of thing, but that's still very service oriented. So like, some services allow it, some services don't have it, some clients have it, some clients don't have it. So do you guys think that the email thing it hasn't stayed in the forefront because it hasn't kept up, or are there other reasons? Nate, you said no. Go ahead.
No, the main reason is Teams, because a lot of businesses, a lot of businesses. So when they're emailing other businesses, they will use email because it is a good way for documentation and an easy way to contact each other. But internally, it's easier for them just to use Teams and connect to one another. Or if they're using another organization, then that organization can also message by Teams and only do a certain select group of people. And it does make it more real time. There's always a delay with emails. I don't care how fast your internet is. There's always going to be a delay. Versus Teams, they can drop it in almost instantaneously. Okay, that's there. I've got it. So Teams is kind of the one thing, and I hate Teams with a passion. Don't get me wrong. I refuse to use it right now. But I know that if I ever got into like having to do the school IT or something like that, I would probably have to use Teams, just because that's what everybody's kind of moving towards. Email will always be there because, once again, it is the best way to get documentation. I mean, just 100%.
Yeah. I mean, that is, I sell domain names for a living. I negotiate over email like it's 30 years ago. And the reason why I don't even accept phone calls from brokers, because I want there to be a documentation, to Nate's point. And it better be actually phrased in a certain way, or I'll throw it right back at you and say, no, bullshit. This is the way you need to phrase something. I would like to see if you would, no, bullshit. You say it this way, or you get like deleted. So it has to be that way. And it's better than trying to like schedule a Zoom call or a phone call. Those things, I'm getting emails at all times of the day and night. I'm working on a deal in Bulgaria. We're not on the same time zone at all. That's never going to work. So it has to be done via email. Sometimes old tech isn't just nostalgic. It's just superior.
So my previous job was all over Google Docs, and that's really what we use to communicate too, because Google Docs and Google App Suite, or whatever it is, that's what they use to communicate. And yeah, Gmail was a big part of that, but they also had the Google Meet thing, and they've changed the name 5 or 6 times, so I don't even know what it's called anymore. It used to be Google Chat back in the day and whatever, right? That's what that company used. They were all in on the Google Suite. I railed about it for 10 years. Like, I'm like, please, for the love of God, I switched to Microsoft, anything but Google, because it was horrendous. It was all bad, but that's what they used. I know a lot of companies they deal in these silos, like whatever. Either they're Microsoft 365 shops, or they're going to be Google shops, right? And there's some companies that use Zoho or whatever, or they use their own on-prem software, but that vast majority of them are going to be those two things. And I'm very curious, because I'm going to be starting my new job training in March. And I'll be getting like my email and stuff like that. I'm curious to see how the world of education has gone, because when I was in school, good Lord, I graduated 16 years ago, so it was a long time ago. They still used like PHP mail as their web mail, right? So I'm very curious to see what like the community college I'm gonna be working at, what they use for webmail, because I don't know right now. It'd be interesting. It'd be absolutely fucking hilarious if it's still PHP mail. I mean, it'd be funny, because that is still around, by the way. Like, people, I don't know if it's maintained, but I know for sure some people still use it. So it'll be very interesting to see how that's gone, because I've been in the Gmail world since 2012. That's where, I mean, I had a Gmail account before that, but from a work perspective, that's where it's been. Now I use Proton for personal use now, but even before then, it was all Gmail for personal stuff. So it's weird how, I mean, it's weird how this is kind of. I think part of the reason, just kind of to bring us back to the main topic a little bit, the part of the reason a lot of people are interested in this more another reason why people are interested in the older tech stuff is because they're kind of sick of the silos. Like, if you buy an Apple phone, you kind of have to live in the Apple ecosystem in order for that to get the full benefit. Like, you have to get an Apple. If you're going to have a smartwatch, you get an Apple Watch. If you're going to have a computer, you're probably going to get a Mac, because it's going to work well with your phone. If you're going to get a tablet, you're going to get an iPad. If you're going to have services, you're probably going to have Apple Music and Apple Photos and Apple Drive and all of this stuff, right? And Apple just released the thing to compete with Creative Cloud, right? Their work suite. So you'll probably have that too. If you're going to live in the Google ecosystem, you have Android and maybe a Chromebook or whatever. And then if you're a Microsoft shell, first off, have mercy on your soul.
I don't know why you're here.
What are you doing listening to these guys?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna, I mean, a lot of people for work have to live in the Windows ecosystem, so you're probably going to have an Android phone because it's going to work a little bit better with your device. You're going to use probably Outlook as your email service of choice, which, poor souls. I just feel so bad for you, because Outlook is horrendous. It's bad. But I know a lot of people, they just have to use it. It's what their work uses, so that's what they have to do. So I think that one of the reasons why, at least in a lot of people's personal lives, they're really interested in getting out of those silos. They're looking at Graphene OS for their devices. They're looking at dedicated machines for specific tasks, just because it's not going to be controlled by the thing that controls the rest of their lives.
Yeah, but you know what I've seen lately? A lot of people that's doing the switch to Linux stuff, mostly because of Microsoft. You know what the number one thing that they've been saying the most? The reason why they want to switch is ads, which is the one thing that has made Microsoft billions. People, I think, are starting to get really sick and fed up with all the ads. Like, stop.
So I hear three reasons. I hear the ads thing, because it's getting way, way worse. I hear AI, the Copilot stuff all over the place, right? They're just sick of Copilot. And then there's I have this laptop from 2019. You can't put the new version on it. And it's not even that, because, I mean, most people, like, when they switched from Windows, I guess it was Windows 8 to Windows 10, right? When they did that, they didn't, I mean, yeah, there was some new hardware requirements for the mass majority of people. You could go to Windows 10, but if you couldn't for whatever reason, it was okay. You would just stay on Windows 8, or you'd stay on Windows 7 for however long. You'd live insecurely. Now, if you're on Windows 10, they're going to murder you with advertisements for Windows 11. And you can't upgrade to Windows 11 because your machine's from 2019, because that's an old computer these days. So you either have to put up with their constant pestering to upgrade, or you find some other way to make your computer actually work, which for a lot of people is Linux, which I think is great. But I've heard a lot of people get here and have such, I mean, whatever, but they get here and like it's just not what they expected. So I do have some questions to kind of turn us back into the old hardware stuff. So are there pieces of old tech that you guys would like to see make a resurgence and become popular again, outside of the kind of the things that we've mentioned? For me personally, I think that it would be great for people to have dedicated cameras again, because I think people had a lot of more fun taking pictures, and it was much more deliberate when they had a camera. Like when you wanted to get when you had a dedicated digital camera or a dedicated 35 millimeter camera, you picked that thing up with the intention of taking a shot. And half the time, like 90% of my photo roll is just random pictures of things that I accidentally pressed the camera button on. So it's just like me holding down the camera button randomly to, all over the place. Some of them is like my inside of my pocket. I got lots of pictures of my shoes, just because I'm always pressing the wrong button. So I think that an actual like dedicated like digital camera for a lot of people, especially if you're interested in taking photos and stuff like that, is good. Drew, what about you? Do you have a...
No, I like the camera idea, and I'm not too far away from like something like a music player as well, because when we do these podcasts, every once in a while I'll write down some of these Jeff Foxworthyisms, and it's like, you might be an old tech person if you still own music instead of renting it for $10.99 a month, and you have to have something that plays it, because not everybody's going to want to play it through their phone, even though it's capable of doing that. You've got plenty of stake in space on here. But there might be a dedicated device that you might want to put in your car. I had a couple more that's like, you might be an old tech person if you explain to someone under the age of 25 that you used to carry 100 CDs in a binder with you in your car.
There's one over there. I have one in the room with me.
Yeah, this is a Rebel T6. It's not a very expensive one, but it does really well. For what I do, I use it to for my job, I actually take pictures of this. And I purposely don't reach for my phone and use this to take pictures for that exact reason. So, but yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things I want to see come back is these iPod Touch. I want to see the iPod Touch come back and stop giving kids iPhones. They don't need a phone. Just give them something like this.
So let me ask you this question. Is probably I think I know the answer, but do you think that like something like because the iPad, I think, might have been something that could take the place of the iPod for a lot of parents. They hand them an iPad Mini. Do you think that would be a suitable replacement? Because that thing exists. I don't think that the iPod is coming back. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't, because here's the reason why. You're giving a kid, say if you give them an iPad Mini, what does the iPad Mini run for, like $4.99 right now? Versus you could buy an iPod Touch for like $1.99. Mm-hmm. Okay, first and foremost, a child does not need something stupid expensive. It just doesn't. This one, when it was new, I think this one was $1.99 because it was the 8 gig model. Now my dad went and bought the $4.99 one that was the 64 gig model. But he was older. I was just a kid. So, well, I say I was a kid. I was technically almost a teenager. But irregardless, I know I was a teenager. I'm getting old. Anyways, when this came out, but at the same time, like, why are you giving a child expensive tech when they're not going to appreciate it? They're not going to know what to do with it. So something like this makes more sense.
I know Drew's going to agree with me when I say this, but when I was a kid, $199 was, my mom and dad would have never handed me anything that was that expensive. I might have been able to look at it,
Well, when Drew was a kid, technically a laptop would cost $8,999.
It also had
it was considered new.
It also had punch cards that came along with it. I mean,
exactly.
Okay, you're not wrong. Okay, I'm just saying you're not wrong. My first foray into computers, there was no hard drive. You know, it was an amber monitor, no color, amber monitor, 2 5 1/4 floppies, and the operating system was on a floppy drive as well. And that thing cost $1,700. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that thing, it was a leading edge Model D and it cost $1,700. And I had a dot matrix printer that I had to like buy with it. That cost like another 400. By the way, am I old because I look for a way to actually use wired headphones on anything that I buy, whether it be like even an iPad. You know, it's like, does it have like a an 1/8 inch jack or whatever it's called? You know, and it's like if it doesn't, then no, I don't want that shit. I just want one that has like a wire that I can like use to listen to whatever I'm listening to. I think that's a feature. I think that's an absolute feature that is like way old.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that actually makes you. I think that. Okay, so Apple does this thing where they get rid of things first, right? So they get rid of the floppy disk drive first, right? They got rid of FireWire, even though they fucking created it. They got rid of that first, right? It just barely caught the fuck on, and they got rid of it. They did the same thing. They tried to do it with USB-A, but thank goodness. I was like, hold on, that's a step too far, you know, because we have all this USB-A stuff that's just here. We can't get rid of it, and like it just is not ready yet. So they had to bring ports back. Yeah, floppy disk drives, right? I think that they've done a disservice when it comes to the headphone jack. And I know people like Bluetooth and stuff like that, but Bluetooth, as cool as it is, isn't good.
It's terrible.
It's not good, right? And it's not about sound quality or whatever. It's just like half the time it doesn't work. It severely limits the age of your devices. Like you have to replace it. Like you can use Bluetooth AirPods for like 2 years, and you're gonna have to replace those things if you don't lose them beforehand, right? Whereas like if you had those old, these things, but the white versions, right? You could use those things for 10 years as long as you were careful with them. Like, yeah, you had to deal with like frayed wires and every once in a while, but you know, they were also $10, you know what I mean? Like at the most, right? You could go get a good pair of these for $10. I think I spent $14.99 on these things.
There you go.
Right? And if these things break, guess what? Toss them, get a new pair. I can buy 20 of these things for the price of a pair of iPod Pros. You know what I mean? Like I could outfit everyone that I know with one of these for the same price, right? And that's one thing we kind of haven't talked about is a lot of times the analog stuff that we're I can talk about analog, but like the older digital stuff that you can go find is cheaper than what you would spend if you're going to spend. I mean, this phone right here, if I had to buy it, this came from my nephew, is $1,800. I could at one point you could look at in fact you can still look at a fucking laptop for half the price, and it does more. You can look at an iPad for cheaper, and it does more than this thing. But because it's fancy dancy and it folds in half, you know, it's gotta be more expensive. And yeah, that's
how much was it again?
What? Say it again.
How much was that again?
$17.99. Yeah, I know the Samsung was more expensive, but
yeah,
but still, it's fucking pricey. There's a point about 5 years ago. I was like, you know, I will not spend $1,000. Actually, it was when the iPhone 10 came out. The iPhone 10 was the first iPhone to be $999, right? And I looked at that price like, I'm not spending $1,000 on a phone. I can buy a computer for that thing. I mean, I can buy 2 computers for that amount of money. You know what I mean? Why would I spend? Now, I've since reneged on that and spent $1,000 on a phone 3 times. You know what I mean? Since then, because that's, you know, if you, I'm a techie. I do like the kind of the latest and greatest stuff. It's stupid reasons. I don't actually need them, but it's hard to deny that you can go with something that's much dumber than what I have, right? For a lot cheaper. And even if you still go with a smartphone, you can get like a dumb Android phone for like $50 or $100. It ain't gonna be grand, but who gives a crap? You spent $50 or $100 on it, you know, or maybe $200 on it, or whatever, right? You didn't spend $1,000. So I don't think that the cost can be something that is ignored in this conversation either, because it's definitely cheap. Now, the MP3 players is a weird space. So like this thing here I think it's called an Ionesis or something like that. Can't pronounce it. It's a knockoff thing. Unfortunately, I can't use it because all my FLACs are too high bit rate, so it doesn't support those. And I didn't, of course, check that before I bought it. But this thing was $50. It's pretty cheap. But you can also get like
how much disk space does it have?
I think it has 128 gigabytes.
Okay.
Now it is sealed, so you can't really change. You can't like upgrade it or whatever. But there are ones that have like a mini like SD card slot on them, and a lot of them are right around this price. But some of them, like if you're dealing with like high fidelity like audio, can get very, very expensive, of course. But those are like niche things. Like a lot of people are going to go get the there's one called the H Walker 2 or something like that. It's like on Amazon for like $123. Has a 64 gigabyte card that comes with it, and actually it is for high fidelity audio too. I was actually looking at it because I was because I can't use this thing. I could use that. Plus it supports like jailbreaking and stuff too. So if you wanted to put different software on it, you could. I've been thinking about, because I just started hosting my own music. I've canceled Tidal. I no longer have a subscription service to music. I have all this music that I've downloaded through various means. Some of it, whatever. And I'm in a place where I'm mostly happy with the metadata. So I'm actually been using Symphonium on my phone to play it. But there are certain times where I'm writing or whatever, or I'm doing something around the house, where it would be kind of nice just to be able to say, you know what, I don't need this brick in my pocket. I can just take this other thing with me that's much lighter, has a headphone jack on it, so I don't have to worry, because earbuds never fit my ears. My ears are very misshapen, apparently. None of them fit in there well. And I have a pair of iPods Pro, and those things fall out all the damn time. Like, and they're white, and they always manage to fall out in a place where they blend in. So I just Nate really should have went through and had all of this stuff just around him, man.
That's what he does. He has everything all around him.
You want to talk about an old pair of headphones? There you go. They even have the separate left and right audio volumes.
Oh man.
Yeah, and these suckers, like when they clamp to your head.
Oh yeah,
they clamp.
So these aren't like that. I have a second pair. I have these things here. Now these are obviously a lot newer, but these are also very clampy on the head. I wear these now on the Mac setup that I put up. I can't edit for more than like an hour or whatever, and it's like I have a headache. I got to take these things off. I'm actually thinking about going to the earbuds just because they're better.
When I actually edit the podcast, I put those on because they have such like clarity. They even pick out the slightest white noise, so I can take those out. But I can't wear them for like less than 30 minutes because they will absolutely they feel like they're just pressured onto your ear, and you'll have a feeling right between your ear. You're like, okay, this is starting to hurt.
Yeah, these ones here are actually pretty good, but I think mostly because they're worn, like they're pretty old. So they've stretched out for my fat head, and they're a little bit better. But like the new ones, like there's like a commercial or something like that. Do you guys remember there's like a commercial about, it was like an airline commercial, and they had somebody come in on the commercial, and they had to sit with their hands clamped to their heads, and this is what it's like sitting in Delta's coach, you know what I mean? And this is how America's airlines are like, and something like that. I don't remember. It was a Super Bowl commercial from like the 90s. I'm old, guys. I remember that shit. Yeah. Sorry, Drew.
This freaking guy.
Kids. All right, so I have a couple more questions, and then we can wrap this up because we are at an hour and 10 already. A couple things. Let's just talk about physical media just for a minute, because that has definitely seen a resurgence since like Sony decided they were going to yoink TV shows off the PlayStation, and a lot of places, like if you subscribe to a Spotify or whatever, sometimes the music that you want is just not going to be there, right? So what do you guys think the whole owning your own middle, whether it's downloading it on the internet and actually owning it on your computer, or literally going and getting a Blu-ray, or the vinyl scene is actually like, who saw that coming? That vinyl was going to come back. At least it wasn't 8 tracks, but still, like the vinyl, like you can go to a record store again. Like that's how crazy this has become. Like you can go to a record store, get yourself a vinyl machine. Even Taylor Swift is putting out vinyl now. I know who Taylor Swift is. Okay, guys, I got it. But anyways, what do you guys think of this whole resurgence of actually wanting to own your media? Do you think that that's a fad, or do you think that that's something that's going to stick around, Drew?
I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that is awesome because you're talking about these, and it's actually a lot better for the artists. I mean, if you can look at these artists and know that it's like, oh, I had 1 billion streams and this, that, and the other, but they're not making near the amount of money they used to make when they had like physical records like vinyl, for example. And I don't like feeding the beast. I think that's the other part of it. I just don't want to. I mean, I do. I do have a title account for music, but at the same time, would I prefer not to? Yeah, I think I would. And it would take effort. And that is where, I will fall short, is that it will take effort because to my left over here, yeah, I've got lots of CDs. I've got lots of vinyl records and so on, and they sit and are not doing anything. And so, yeah, I could take the time to do all of that, and convert. I just don't. So there is a convenience factor. By the way, because it is apropos, and it's like you might be an old tech person if you still own a device that never asks you to update its privacy policy.
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
Oh Lord, I must be really old then.
I have no comment about that. You're the youngest guy.
He's the youngest one
the
here.
youngest guy at the podcast, and we're gonna call him the old guy. I mean, if he's old, what does it make us? Jesus. All right, Nate. What about you? Do you think that the physical media thing and the actual owning of your media thing is going to be something that becomes more popular, or is just a fad?
No, it's going to become more popular, and I'll actually also put it towards gaming as well. There's a huge resurgence in people that are just simply refusing to play AAA games. They're going indie developers because you actually get the game, and people are fed up of buying something that doesn't belong to them, or they're renting the license,
or the server gets shut down.
Yes, that stuff is stupid, and people are getting fed up with it, and people are waking up and realizing, oh, this is not a good thing. And actually, it's funny enough that Drew said a record player. I'm actually working on one for somebody right now. It's part of my business because they have records and they like to play them. And I'm looking at it like, man, if I had $399, I'd be buying this sucker too, because I have a few that I want to play. So
I watch random things on YouTube, and I watch someone make a walnut record player, like made out of walnut.
I think I've seen the same video.
That was awesome. Like, it was really cool. Yep. Like, it had all these like really modern electronics. I was very surprised how modern it was. Had a screen and everything, right? And then he plopped it in this gorgeous like handmade walnut box. It was so cool. I was like, you know what? I don't have any vinyl. My mom and dad have a ton of them, like from the 30s and 40s, like through that era of country music and rock and roll and Elvis, all that stuff. But I don't have any personally. But watching that, like, you know what? Kind of want one. Not gonna lie.
Well, I was also going to say something too about it. Like, they've done experiments where, when you're working, if you're listening to something like this and you have your earbuds in or whatever, you are happy that you're working, but you're still not being fulfilled. Versus if you actually have just a record player and it's blasting out to the entire. I don't know if you're in a warehouse, it's blasting out to the entire warehouse, and you're all working together, listening to the same music together. There's like that social skill that's there that you actually develop. And I know, Matt, you don't like social people, but I'm just saying, when you're working in a warehouse, it's nice.
I don't have a problem with it. So when I bring up the second time tonight that I brought up that I worked at Kroger, but they had like over the air, they had fucking music coming in, and I hated that. Not because I hated the music, but not because I hated that there was music, but because whoever chose the fucking radio station was like, good Lord, man. I hate Bob Seger. Like, I used to like Bob Seger, right? Bob Seger was great, but they played Bob Seger so much, and it was all of his live shit. So there was like 12-minute long songs, and he was like, "One more time, we're going to Kathmandu. Listen to some music, old young people." But anyways, like, that made me hate that. So like, maybe it's just because I have I'm not eclectic in music. Like, I like classical and rock and roll and country and R&B and rap. I like all sorts of shit, but I want to be able to choose it. And I think that's I'm very antisocial. The fact that I'm even here with you guys it is it's very
once
ambitious.
a week is enough.
Yeah, like I'll see you guys once a week. We'll have a good time, and then the rest of the week, like you guys can just go back to your corners. It'll be fine. And if you call me, I'm not answering the phone. I'm just.
Yeah, you take your life into your hands if you try to communicate with Matt outside the podcast. It's just like, hey, I sent you like an instant message. No, crickets, baby. Crickets.
I will answer it. I'll answer it when I damn well please. Like if that's why I like text messages. I'll get to it eventually. All right. Anything else you guys want to say on this, or have we run it out?
Just
Go
one
ahead,
more.
Nate.
You can thank Apple to getting rid of the actual T9 text because that was terrible.
Yeah. One thing that we didn't cover that I really thought we would kind of cover a little bit more was removable batteries, because that's like the biggest thing, right? Like if that came back, I would be so happy, because it was so cool to have like 5 battery packs or whatever. And you just plop in a new one and you never had to charge anything.
Or the ones that expanded the back of it. And you just bought a different back case to snap on. It had the extended battery on it.
Yeah, we used to buy these once they went into the whole soldered battery thing. Once the iPhone came out, used to buy battery packs, right? So you could pop it on the back, right?
All my tools and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I love being able to just like grab another battery and like so I can use my drill and so on. Man, those things. I mean, talk about they need to come back with something like that where it's just rechargeable battery.
Yeah.
I mean, to swap out.
I understand that part of it was miniaturization. That's what their argument is. Like, it's miniaturization, better waterproofness and stuff like that, right? But it's also the fact that these batteries aren't going to live forever, and then it makes you go buy a new phone every 2 years, right? So,
well, then they don't even include a charger anymore. So now you have to carry these stupid things just to even get a new phone.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, let's go ahead and move on quickly to the Nuggies of the week. So if you're new here, or if you haven't heard, the Nuggies is the last section of the show that we do every week. Basically, these are our picks of the week. We can choose an app or a tip or a trick or a script or whatever it is we want to share. And basically, it's just things that we've discovered or created that we'd like to share with you guys. So Drew, your Nuggie of the week.
So this is going to shock some people. I have not been using Genie as my text editor.
Emacs?
No.
Damn.
I am using the Zed text editor. And wow, it's freaking really nice. I will talk about it maybe off camera and stuff like that, but that is my Nuggie of the week. If you have any desire to use a GUI text editor that actually has some AI functionality, if you choose to use it, the Zed text editor is very rapidly developed right now, is open source. And yeah, I'm using it a lot more than I am Genie right now. And that is crazy to me.
That sounds like a betrayal of everything I know.
I feel a little icky. I might have to go shower. So yeah.
Of course, I felt the exact
used
same
to
thing.
Yeah.
Felt the same way when I moved from Vim to Emacs. So it's like I feel like I'm hurting someone's feelings. Nate, what about you? What's your Nuggie of the week?
So mine is, I was trying to figure out a good way, because I want to get a mount to put a tablet and put it behind the camera. So when I'm actually, because right now I have to look at you over here, but if I look at the camera and I'm actually looking at you guys, it would be right behind the camera. So it looks like I'm looking at the camera. Long explanation, but I found something that was free, and it's called Tab Display for macOS. And for Linux, the one I've found that works okay is Desk Green. I don't really know how they pronounce it exactly, but those two apps actually allow me to take my computer and use my tablet as a second monitor, and that allows me to mount it behind the actual camera. So now that when I'm looking at the guys, I can actually look straight ahead at them, but it still looks like I'm looking at the camera. I don't know what it's called. Is it continuity or whatever it's supposed to be called? Yeah. Something like that.
Wait, so can we just all acknowledge that Nate's Nuggie of the week was another monitor? I'm just...
You're welcome.
I mean, could we be more surprised? I mean,
it's actually software, though, isn't it? It's software.
To enable himself to have another monitor. And it sounds great. I didn't mean to mock it. I'm just saying that it's a little funny. All right. So speaking of
Speaking of low tech,
Yeah. So this is a pen, and this is the TWSBI, TWSBI 530. I think is what this is. There might be some extra numbers and letters there. I don't know. It is a fountain pen. It is a piston filler, so that means you unscrew. I tried to get this on camera. You unscrew this a little bit, and you pull, and it just kind of raises the piston in here, and it kind of suctions ink up into the barrel. Which means you don't have to deal with syringes or any of that kind of stuff. Now, the first time I tried it, I unscrewed too far and it all came apart, and my hands were like, I took pictures of them and put them in Discord. It was like my hands were just soaked in ink. So follow the directions. Don't do what Matt did. But once I learn it, I think I'll do better. But this thing here is the best fountain pen that I have. It is awesome. It's about $60, so it's not cheap, but it's also not like a Mont Blanc or anything. You're not going to spend like 20 grand on it. It's very, very, very good. In fact, I would buy another TWSBI like today if I thought I actually needed it. So you guys know that I will be probably buying one eventually. There's a 580 that's a little chunkier than this, and my hands are huge. So usually like a bigger, like a thicker pen. So I'm thinking about getting one of those because it might be a little more comfortable to write with, but this is actually pretty good. I do have this one here. I'm not sure what this is called, but this one here is a more of a suction type filler. So you actually pull up on a plunger and it fills things and pushes back down to actually pull the suction up. This one here is thicker. I don't care for the ink that I put in this when it bleeds a little bit too much, but the TWSBI is amazing, and the TWSBI ink that goes along with it that you have to buy it's the best ink that I've ever used in a fountain pen because it does not bleed and it dries almost instantaneously, so it doesn't smudge at all. It's great. So I highly recommend TWSBI. They have some cheaper ones as well if you're into fountain pens. So you can get like one for like 20 or 30 bucks. And I know 20 or 30 bucks for a pen doesn't sound cheap, but for a fountain pen, it actually is fairly cheap. So TWSBI 530 is my Nuggie of the week. So that is the Linux Cast, an extra long one for you guys this week. Nate, who's going to edit this podcast. Sorry about that, my friend. An hour and a half is where we're kind of heading. So apologies for that, but it was a good one. I think it was a very good episode. So if you thought so too, make sure you leave a thumbs up on the video or a review in Apple Podcasts, if you will. If you want to watch us live, we do record this live every Tuesday night at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time or thereabouts. We're not the most punctual people, and when I say we, I mean Matt. So it's just kind of the way that it is. But you can watch us live. If you can't catch the live version, we post the edited version on Saturday evenings. That is edited by Mr. Nate. Thank you so very much, Nate. I do appreciate it, man. Because I hate editing the podcast. It's horrible. But anyways, you can catch the edited version on Saturday evenings usually, wherever podcasts are given away for free, and on YouTube as well. So make sure you check that out. You can find the fellows here on their YouTube channels. Nate is Nate Picks Tech World. He is showing us up when it comes to videos, Drew. He's making us look like slackers. He released like 4 or 5 in a row. It was like, what is this? Who are you and what have you done with Nate Picks Tech World? You know what I mean? You're actually putting videos out? What is this? I don't know. Anyways, Nate Picks Tech World on YouTube. He does hardware related stuff usually and some Linux stuff as well. So make sure you check him out. Drew is Just a Guy Linux, and he's like, he may be the oldest guy on here, but he's like the streamer among us. Like he's the streamer, you know. And next thing we know,
the laziest one.
Next thing we'll know, he'll have a Twitch account, and he have himself a gaming chair. Anyways, he's Just a Guy Linux on YouTube. Make sure you check his stuff out. All of his stuff is great. Make sure you check all that stuff. Anyways, I am not Just a Guy Linux. I am the Linux Cast. I lost my brains there for just a second after coughing them out. The Linux Cast, make sure you subscribe, all that stuff. I think that's all I need to do. The linuxcast.org/contact is all of our rest of our contact information. You can find it there, along with all the previous episodes of this amazing podcast and blog posts and all that stuff. So, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for sticking with us for an hour and 25 minutes. So, thank you so very much for that. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.
Bye. See, now Matt can't say nothing.
It just felt weird.